Hey, I'm Chase from On the Table Gaming, and today we're going to talk about the Whispering Woods scenario put out by CMON Games for the A Song of Ice and Fire Miniatures Game. And here we have the first scenario for A Song of Ice and Fire, the Miniatures Game, and it's got a theme being the Battle of the Whispering Wood scenario, where Robb Stark famously captures Jaime Lannister. And we got some unique art on the cover here. You can see it's raining in the Riverlands. And just scrolling down, you can see some character designs from previous products and a little introduction here outlining the rules and guidelines, asking you to replay the scenario and seeing under your command, would the battle have gone differently? So you kind of get to decide. And what I really like about this is the way they do their army construction in this scenario. It's incredibly friendly for new players and for veteran players as well. So it starts off with army construction and giving you 3 possible options. Number 1, the Stark vs. Lannister starter set. So if you've just got the starter set, just the base game, you've been playing the scenarios provided in there, well, you can play this new narrative scenario with just those basic sets. You can also play off of the recommended list that are a little bit bigger, they're a little bit more developed. You're going to see additional units like Lannister crossbowmen, for example, that aren't in the starter set. And then there's the open list where you can just take the basic required models and then build on additional units. Now, you must take Jaime Lannister. This is the Battle of Whispering Wood, where he was famously caught. And you must take Robb Stark as well. And you're going to note that later on, they're actually different than their traditional characters in the basic set of the game. So down here, we've got the starter set list. So you've got your basic lists included if you just have the starter set. So you've got to have Jaime Lannister, and he's got some special rules here. Note that he is the Jaime Lannister from the Battle of Whispering Wood. You got to take Cersei Lannister, a set of Lannister halberdiers, guards, 2 units of those, and then House Clegane's mountain men with Gregor Clegane, attached. Now, for the starter set for the Starks, you've got Robb Stark, the Battle of Whispering Woods edition, Catelyn Stark, 2 Sworn Swords, the Umber Berserkers, Stark Outriders, and Grey Wind. And in those Berserkers, you do have Great John Umber as your named character as well. Now, if you've got some more units and you've been kind of steadily expanding your forces, you can play with a recommended list. And the big difference here is you're going to have the NCU be Tywin Lannister, and in addition to your guards and halberdiers, you have Lannister crossbowmen, the Knights of Casterly Rock as well. Now, you still have the Mountains Men because they have a special scenario component to this game that requires them. But in addition, you're working in those new units. And for House Stark, you've got Catelyn Stark still. And with your normal units of Sworn Swords, you now have the House Tully Sworn Shields, and they're going to be the ones that are escorting Robb Stark, making it a much more beefy unit. It's going to be hard for you to dislodge them unless you use some of the special abilities we'll talk about later. Now, you can obviously open list build, and you can throw in some variations there, but take a look at the scenario deployment zone. And in essence, what this game is about is the Lannisters getting their units off the board and escaping, and the Stark players deploying around the borders and trying to stop them. Now, the Mountains Men for the Lannisters do deploy later, and they don't get scored for escaping. They're just kind of there to deal damage and help Jaime Lannister's forces escape. So you can see there's the scenario pieces already placed, and so you don't take turns competitively placing the terrain. It's set there in that static formation. And the Starks do not deploy as normal. Instead, before the Lannisters have deployed, the Starks will assign 1 table side to each of the combat units. This information is hidden from the Lannister player. So you put down secretly where they're going to be deploying, on what side. And at the start of round 1, the Starks may deploy up to 2 of their combat units. This is not their activation, meaning you can put them down and then move with them as an activation. You can deploy them anywhere within short range of the table side they were assigned. Then beginning on round 2, the Starks may deploy 1 additional combat unit at the start of each round, and this is not their activation. Grey Wind, of course, deploys with Robb's unit, and he doesn't count towards the total unit deployment. Now, the Starks are always the first player, and if the Stark unit is destroyed, it gets to redeploy. So you get to keep cycling in your units. So the Lannisters don't want to stall this game out. They've got to get off the board as quickly as possible. And characters do not redeploy their units. So if you take out Robb Stark, then you don't have to worry about him coming back. And the game ends only after 6 rounds, or at the end of any round in which there are no Lannister combat units remaining on the battlefield. So the Lannisters, you get everybody off the board, you're good. The Lannisters gain 1 unit of House Clegane's Mountain Men, which I mentioned before, and that's a free unit. That unit is not deployed as normal. Instead, it begins on round 2, before the Starks have deployed their additional combat unit. The Lannister unit may deploy this unit completely within short range of any table side. This unit may not move off the table. So the key thing is, how is this scored? So both sides get 1 victory point each time an enemy combat unit is destroyed. The Lannisters get 1 victory point each time an enemy attachment is destroyed. The Lannisters get 3 victory points if Robb Stark is destroyed, and it's not cumulative with the above. And then the Lannisters get 3 victory points if Jaime Lannister's unit escapes the battlefield. The Starks get 4 points if Jaime Lannister is destroyed, and 4 points if all Lannister combat units are destroyed. So you're really trying to wipe them out entirely. Now, at the end of those 6 rounds, or when there's no Lannister combat units remaining, then you tally up these points to see. So you've really got to go the whole distance, or grind them out early as fast as you can and see if you can get these points in, especially as the Starks. Now, what's cool is that we have the return of the OG original Jaime Lannister from the Kickstarter, before he was sort of nerfed a little bit, with the expert duelist ability making its comeback. So each time this unit makes a melee attack against an enemy infantry unit, it deals 1 additional wound, and if there is an attachment in that unit, you may instead roll a die. On a 3+, kill that attachment, moving 1 model from the back to fill that slot. So this is the Robb Stark killing machine, or Great John. You get into combat on a 3+, you just kill their unit attachment. So powerful. On the other side, you got Robb Stark, and his new ability is Unexpected Arrival. So once per game, when you would deploy a unit, you may deploy that unit from any table side instead of the assigned one. So as a Stark player, when you initially deploy your troops and you've got the cards that you flipped over saying, this unit's going to deploy on table side, 1, you go to deploy it, it has to go there. Well, now you can say, well, actually, wait a second, they're coming over here on the other side as well. So it's going to let you adapt to the Lannister plan in case they try to really heavily go for one side or the other. Big note, not usable outside of the Battling of the Whispering Wood scenario. So I have not yet played this game mode, but I'm excited for 2 things. Number 1, I want to play it. I'm really looking forward to how it plays, and I'm curious about how it's going to work with some units like the Knights of Casterly Rock, who could feasibly run off the table pretty quickly, but making it hard for your other units to fight their way across. So there's some special choices you have to make there and trying to weigh your options. The other reason I'm really excited is because this hints at a system that the people at CMON Games are going to be using, where they're going to be pushing out more scenario play. And there's so many epic battles we want to recreate. And as new units come out, as new factions, getting to have these what-if scenarios, it's so cool. So if you haven't checked out the Battle of Whispering Woods, make sure you get a hold of this PDF. I'll link it in the description below. And if you have played, in the comments, let us know how it went. Are there particular battles that you're looking forward to coming up? And regardless of what you end up doing, whether you just take a look at this and don't end up playing, or whether you decide you really love this mode and you play it both with the starter set, with the recommended settings, and with open lists, regardless, we hope you get your miniatures on the table.